Absolutely.
You have to push it so it's green. There you go.
Welcome to the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission. We have a call to order.
Yes. Okay. I'll do roll call. Commissioner Cowan,
Peter Cowan, Commissioner.
Commissioner Winkler,
Present.
Commissioner Soba,
Here.
Councilmember Nelson,
Here.
Councilmember Medina,
Here.
Commissioner Cass,
Here.
Commissioner Dent,
Here.
Vice Chair Garber,
Here.
Commissioner Doss,
Here.
Commissioner Gazi Edwin,
Here.
Chair Leslie Stambaugh.
Here. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have a quorum.
Is there any public comment?
No, I don't have anyone.
Okay, good. And let's start with the agenda. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Any discussion?
Leslie, didn't we want to amend it?
Yes, that's why,
Oh, now we have the discussion. Okay, sorry. Per your suggestion, I think we wanted to remove that one item.
yes, the traffic stop subgroup item, or data subgroup item. Primarily because this is in conjunction with Independent Citizens Oversight Commission, Police Oversight Commission, and they have tabled this issue, so we are going to use the time to our advantage and table it as well until next time. Any discussion? Any other changes, additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The agenda is approved. Minutes for the December 8th meeting. The last time we were all together on Zoom. We have,
I move to approve the minutes.
I second.
discussion.
I have a
Are
question.
there changes to these minutes?
I have just a quick question.
Good, I think you have to speak louder.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Under Fair Chance Housing Update,
Yes.
in the last sentence where it says citing the likelihood of success on the merits of the case overall,
Oh, yes.
I thought that was supposed to be unlikelihood of success.
I can't make out what she's saying.
She said, citing the likelihood of success on the merits of the case overall, and she thinks it should be unlikely. Linda, I know you have changes to this one.
Yeah, I
also.
also, I think that section is a little confusing and for similar reasons. And also, I think the first sentence is actually inaccurate. So I was going to suggest that instead it read, M. Radabah gave a status report on the early leasing ordinance and fair chance access to housing litigation. Then M. Radabah reported that the judge denied the landlord's request for an injunction, period.
Did everybody hear that? No.
No.
Okay, you have to do it.
Okay. Okay, I'll read it one more time. Sorry. M. Radabah gave a status report on the early leasing ordinance and fair chance access to housing ordinance litigation. M. Radabah reported that the judge denied the landlord's request for an injunction, period.
That Mr. needs also, Pam?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Other changes?
I have two others.
Oh, good.
Yeah, one is just a little tiny one in conversion therapy logistics. I think it should be affected, not effected, so it's an A, not an E.
Yeah.
And then under City Council Unarmed Response Resolution, I think the description of it is not quite accurate, so I was going to suggest that it be considerably shortened and instead say, L. Stambaugh discussed City Council's April 5th, 2021 Resolution R 21129, and then take it up again at the bottom where it says, Stambaugh noted that, and then leave the rest as it is.
Which is that, Linda?
So basically delete, well, I'll read it one more time. L. Stambaugh discussed City Council's
Oh, okay, here.
April 5th, 2021 Resolution R 21129, period. Then delete everything after that until you get to L. Stambaugh and then continue.
Okay.
Okay. Are those all?
That's all I have, yeah.
Anybody else? There's no more discussion, can we vote on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved, and it's approved. Next thing on our agenda is to touch base with our Sioux City Council liaison, Travis Regina and Elizabeth Nelson, for anything that we ought to know about the city council or anything that we can get so interesting to us. Travis or Elizabeth?
I think the couple of updates that I have, we have on the agenda, so.
Same? So we'll move on. Facial recognition group, Travis and Aiden.
Yeah, I'll default to Travis on this one. I know that he's had some communications with Councilwoman Song. As of right now, where I last left it, our edits and suggestions of proposals of how we continue on with this resolution is currently with the attorney right now. So Travis, I'd love an update as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, unfortunately, things have been left. Councilmember Song and I are attempting to meet with the attorney's office about this to get a little bit of a progress report and move things along. We are currently, this is one of the things where the attorney's office has a lot of projects right now, and this is one that has been slower because of that. And so we're trying to figure out where we can get this moving in the timeline.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll follow up on Human Rights Commission work, starting with community outreach. And I wanted to raise something for the community outreach group, which I think is Aisha, Travis, and Diana.
Yeah, I think so. Mhm.
I'm not sure who else is in this group. No?
I think it's just me, you, and,
I think it's just me and Diana.
yeah.
Okay, oh,
Yeah.
thank you, okay.
We like Travis, but
We like
I don't
him
think he's in
Oh,
our group.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put Travis. I'm thinking about you because I have your, this is a suggestion you made that in November, that came, in December, came in through the December minutes. That had to do with know your rights, publicizing know your rights.
Right.
You had somebody raised that request that this was publicized more. You had some suggestions about some places it might be. There are lots of places that it might be, and we have had some ideas that we've had some complaints where Linda, you might want to talk about. I can't see anybody's face, so if you're looking at me with me.
I think I know what you're talking about. We had a resident who had suggested the Human Rights Commission work toward essentially developing a poster or a a communication that businesses would hang in their facilities so that folks were aware of their rights here in Ann Arbor and what things that they are protected from in our non-discrimination ordinance, and then also directing people where to file a complaint so that they know that they have options available. Because one of the things that we have heard is that, one, folks either don't know that they have legal protections in the city of Ann Arbor that they might not have in other places. Two, I think we all believe that, if there's a constant reminder hanging on the wall in a business, it is hopefully less likely that business will actually discriminate. And then also making sure that when people do feel that they know where they can turn for support. So I think that was the idea that was brought to us by a resident.
And that idea came to mind also when Linda got a question from somebody who was a complainant who didn't know about their rights about renting, weren't sure about them. And we're just aware that they're not publicized very much. They're complicated. They're difficult to just hang on. Actually, you can't just enumerate them. But I'll bet the outreach committee could do something useful.
Leslie, could you try speaking into the microphone and see if that helps? I'm having a really hard time.
I'm sorry. Thank you for asking me. It's a creative solution. Okay. So Linda had her hand up.
I do have one comment. We did develop a poster, and we did take it all over the community, any bulletin board we could find. This was maybe 4 or 5 years, shortly after, I guess, the non-discrimination ordinance was passed. So we do have one. It can be updated. It's a little tricky to require businesses, like restaurants, to sort of post it in a window. And these days, so much is done on social media that I'm not saying we shouldn't do it where we can, but I do think our focus, too, should be on getting it out via social media in a million ways, too, through the city and on the city website and in other ways.
Travis?
Yeah, I think to the extent that if there's something that exists and we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, updating it makes total sense. And then once it is updated, I think that's something that, Councilmember Nelson and I can have conversations with our legal staff as well and determine whether or not this is something we can require. And if it is, if we want to go down that path. But I think having the HRC kind of lead the process in updating that would be helpful. And as for the renters aspect of that, I guess an additional update that I could have given during the council updates is that the mayor did nominate folks to the Renters Commission. And so they should be confirmed at our next meeting, and then that group will be able to begin organizing as well.
Oh, good. And we might have them here to just talk about what they're doing at some point. That's one. And they may also have some needs, know your rights needs that are unique. Anyway, I was hoping that maybe the outreach group would be interested in doing something like that. I don't think the one we have, if I'm thinking about the same thing you're thinking about, it's something we have in multiple languages and it's very nice. Is that the one you're thinking about?
I don't recall that we ever translated it. It's possible we did into one, but I don't remember. Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah.
And Leslie,
Yeah.
I thought that there was a translated version in like
Of a flyer.
Mandarin.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was kind of how to file a complaint.
Trying to file a complaint. So just so I'm understanding correctly, so part of our larger public outreach strategy would involve making kind of easy to understand flyers on how you file a complaint. And, okay,
And also some idea of what their rights are,
yeah.
why
What
you
your
come
rights
to
are.
us.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'll talk to Diana about it.
Okay.
Could we develop a work group
I think that would be
on
an
that?
idea.
Yeah.
Is there one?
Well, there's Diana and Aisha who could join.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. I would put it on for next month to check back with you.
Leslie,
Yep.
I believe
Those who do business with the city are mandated per our ordinance to publish that. It comes under the contractors section.
For
So
people who are contractors.
all of
Yes,
those
that's true.
who have a contract with the city are mandated to post that poster in a public space so that persons who frequent the business or employees who work for the business can readily see that poster. So that might be a good place to start. I know that you and I have taken on the responsibility of ensuring, or at least trying to ensure, that the contractors who do business with the city are compliant with that directive. The purchasing department states that they have provided that information as a part of the packet for those who contract with the city. And you do an annual report that says that is being done and consistently being done, and that all contractors are compliant with that. So since we have access to that listing of those contractors, my recommendation would be that we start there, since they have an obligation to do that as part of the contract for whatever work they're performing for the city.
And that is a different flyer than the one I was talking about. So that has not been translated into any language, and we should give this committee, this recent, a copy of that too. Because so far we've only looked at the contractors that work perfectly well with people, inside Ann Arbor. You might also think about publishing something in maybe the Observer or something that just reminding people that we're here and what we do.
Yeah.
Anything else on that topic?
Yes, one question.
Sure.
Do we have any materials that would indicate to someone who's undocumented that any information we receive will be held confidential, and that we don't work with the sheriff or Ann Arbor PD?
Good point. We should check that.
Yeah, I think we need to add that, because that would be, a group that would need that information.
Okay. Went on. Conversion therapy. Diana, we last left you.
Sure. So kind of to piggyback off of our outreach talk, with the conversion therapy logistics, it's basically the same thing. It's basically just a different form of outreach. So I've reached out to Neutral Zone for a second time, still waiting a response back from them. With the Ann Arbor Public Schools, they're asking for basically a sign-up sheet and a opportunity for us to then come into the classrooms and do a presentation. So that might be a really good opportunity to talk to young people. And maybe what we do is we don't focus just on the conversion therapy piece of it, but we actually focus on, the broader topics and what we do as commissioners or what we do as a group. Because I think depending on how whatever our focus is, or if we have different presentations, we could offer those through this engagement, portal through the Ann Arbor Public Schools. I think we'd have to have a blurb about what each thing is. Now, when I kind of applied, I was talking about conversion therapy, but the response I got back was, have a sign-up sheet and the schools could reach out for a virtual presentation. So when I think of a presentation, I think of, a speaking engagement. And so, there may be teachers that would be interested in having us come to the classroom and talk about it in a social studies class or I mean, even a fifth grade class or a second grade class or whatever. So we
It
could,
might be interesting to talk to Neutral Zone and see what they think we should say.
well, yeah, depending on, well, I think it's twofold. I think that, there are things that we could talk about when it comes to conversion therapy. But I also think that with an audience of high school students, there are a lot of opportunities to get information out there to young people and really be able to educate them on the different opportunities and the different rights that they have and the options that they have for reporting. Because I don't know that, back 2-3 years ago when I was in high school, wink, wink, that anyone came to my school and said, here are your rights as a young person, and here's where you go if you feel those rights have been violated. And I knew in high school if I, felt like somebody had violated me, I guess I could go to the police, but, marginalized people and young people of color don't even feel safe doing that anymore. So it may really be an opportunity, and I suppose we should not only cover Ann Arbor Public Schools, but, branch out to other surrounding schools because those students come into Ann Arbor too. So anyway, that's all I have to report on conversion therapy, but as we're talking outreach, my mind is thinking broader.
What do you think you need to start doing the next step?
So I think that the next step is really like honing in on getting that flyer. I do think we need to have it in multiple languages. I think the flyer needs to be written in I think it needs to be written for someone, say, at a 6th grade reading level. I don't know. I think that we need to come up with a presentation, even if it's a 15-minute presentation on what we do in general. And then I think we could even, have presentations on different things, trespass, conversion therapy, the other things, the renters or whatever else, so that we can tweak it, and go in, because I do think that there are opportunities to go out into the public and talk at different events. And I know that that's time consuming, but, now in a virtual world, you could do it once, record it, and then play it in so many instances that I think it might be worth doing. So I think that is actually our next step, to kind of figure out what we're going to hone in on and come up with the content of it. So maybe that's what our outreach group does, and kind of figures out what we're going to say, what our script is going to say. And then we could even, I don't know, perform it for the group or something.
Is this something the outreach group should do, or do you think some people should volunteer to do it because they're like, they're more willing to do it for kids? And
I would think that this would be something that the outreach group would do. However, I think this is so exciting, and potentially if we would all be going to present at some point in some capacity, we could accept volunteers for who wanted to help with this presentation as well. But I do love this idea because I do think there are so many instances to where we frequently want to give out this information, and I think that we suffer from a lack of digestible presentation materials. So I think whether it's for the school or for the next event, this is a really great idea.
I'm excited. Anybody else on this? Any other thoughts? Okay, let's move on now. Fair Chance Housing update. I don't think there's anything new except that this suit has been dropped. So there's no challenge now for this. And we have some indication that the word is getting out. But if we hear anything, and we'll let you know. I think that's something we have to watch. Complaints. Just a couple things. This month, we are initiating PETA and AID. And one of the things, I think initiating new people into this task has been fascinating. I've worked with PETA, and what I'm realizing is, in some ways, how little we have talked about it and how much, we really need to do more thinking about how we go about doing this and more sharing about how we've done it and what worked and what didn't work.
Especially if we begin to more broadly notify the public and inform people.
Oh, yeah.
Then the complaints will come faster.
Yeah. We've had such a wide variety of cases, and people are sort of taking it and running with it, but we have not done as much talking about it and clinicking problems and trying new things and sharing. Well, so this is forcing us to think more broadly, and that's very good. And we're also redoing some changes to the complaint process to make it more efficient and to improve the database and make sure that we keep track of complaints more carefully and more efficiently. So I know that some people are going to meet this week about it, and we will get a report that comes out. Anything else? I think I can only tell you that we have a couple complaints in the house now, and we're working on them. Yeah.
I was looped in to one, and then the solution essentially came by itself, and the complaint was resolved before I could get my hands on it. So I'm happy that there's a swift resolution, but I was unable to be involved in that one.
Okay, there's February.
Oh, of
and
course.
I've got plans now.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
So you will be more busy.
Wonderful.
And I've got one, and this one was delayed a week or so because we weren't sure that the respondent, the business, was within the Ann Arbor's radius, right, in their jurisdiction.
Right.
But we were told that it was, so we moved forward.
Right. Doing this, we're learning a great deal. Anything else about refining the complaint process? Trespass. This is something that I'm embarrassed about because we have not done enough. Linda has revised the letter, and I have to act on it. So that will happen this month. Huh?
Did we talk about refining the complaint process?
I said a few words about it. That we were going to do it.
Yeah, I didn't hear them.
Okay. Just that we're going to do it. We've got some people meeting, I think, on Friday. And I think you're one of them. Okay. So, and we're going to talk about the database. So, lots of stuff that you would be interested in. Religious head coverings. You remember we sort of defined it, talked about whether or not it was something that was needed in Ann Arbor. We gave it to Margie to think about. You haven't gotten a response from her. Okay. So we don't actually know where that is.
No.
But yes.
I think we as a group passed it, gave it to Margie, who's adding it to a couple of other changes to the non-discrimination ordinance that we also requested, some quite a while ago, including eliminating the 180-day requirement and also just changing where that ethnicity is in the order so that it's alphabetical with everything else. And there may be a fourth one. I did send her a message asking when she might be sending all of these, including the religious head covering edition, to City Council, but I haven't heard back yet.
Some of those things we have passed as a commission, and some of them
We did, we passed all of them. They're on her plate.
but not the religious head
Yes,
coverings.
yes,
Did we?
yes,
Did we
we
actually
did.
vote
Yeah,
on it?
we did.
Oh, good, okay. Then that's not on our, something we have to do anything about. Okay, I have one more thing on the agenda, and that is just to talk briefly about the unarmed response report that we received in the city administrator's office. Now, this was thank you. In December, we were aware that the city council had made a resolution asking the city administrator's office to come up either with a plan for unarmed response or a justification why we shouldn't have one. And we were thinking that we were going to get one or the other and we'd have to act quickly to respond to it. What happened instead was what we got kind of a report from the city administrator's office that sort of described how it's used elsewhere and what could happen here and what we were doing that was related to it. So nothing that we really needed to jump on, so we didn't. But it does raise some issues, and one of the issues it raises for me is we were not, the city council required the city administrator's office to consult with the police oversight commission, but didn't include us. We can't, it depends on how interested we are in this. This is clearly, there are clearly some human rights questions about unarmed response and some issues and some things we probably care a lot about. The question for me is how much should we pursue this? We can, for example, join one of the stakeholder groups and get our aura in that way. We could ask the city administrator's office if we could talk to him about, you know, what we care about.
Leslie, could you please repeat that? It sounded interesting from here are the things we could do.
I'm sorry. The question for me is whether the Human Rights Commission wants to be more heavily involved in this. Right now, we're responding, we're monitoring what is being done about it, and we could respond if there was something that we really cared about. But we might also want to get on the planning portion of this. And if we do, how should we do it? So I'm really asking you, how important is this particular issue to you? It's probably going to get a lot of funding from the city. They're talking as though this is definitely going to happen. When it doesn't work, unarmed response is serious, and it's a serious human rights problem. So we don't want it to go without any comment. My question is, how do you feel about it? What do when you read this, what did you think we should be doing, if anything?
I think that there's such clear implications to human rights in this. We need a very consistent presence in these conversations. For me, in my perspective, rather than having one singular meeting with the city administration to give our 2 cents, we should have an active member or members in the stakeholder group, because I would hate for that group to not benefit from our experiences and perspectives from a human rights lens. And so I would encourage the group to move along with such direction.
Others?
I agree. I agree with Aiden completely. I think we need to have a consistent presence and not just have 1 or 2 stakeholder meetings, but really be part of, the implementation of this and what it involves.
Anybody have an idea? There is a stakeholder meeting, stakeholder group called Coalition for the Re-envisioning of Our Safety that has some people on it who are knowledgeable about mental health issues. I saw the list and I didn't check it before, so I don't know exactly whether this group even still exists. But we could tie in there, or we could go directly to the city administrator and say, how do you want us to give you input? We're interested in this issue. So what do you think our next step should be, since we are now saying that, although uninvited, we would like to be a part of this planning?
I mean, I think that, meeting with crows would be beneficial.
Meeting what?
With crows or the coalition, but I
Yes.
think we also need to have a presence on what's happening at the city level. So I don't know, who are the council members who are directly involved in this, in some of the stakeholder meetings? Is it Councilmember Song? Travis, do you know, or Elizabeth, do you know?
Stakeholder meetings around,
Around unarmed response and discussing the feasibility of unarmed response in the city.
what do you remember of this, Travis? Because I remember we had scheduled meetings with Jerry Clayton, and I can't remember if Ariane Slay was a part of those meetings, talking about what was being done at the county level, but I didn't participate in any stakeholder meetings about unarmed response.
I have not been in a stakeholder meeting yet either, and I'm not sure if council members are, or if at this point it's stakeholders who are going to develop further advice to council. We could probably check on that and follow back up with you. We have similarly, we got advice from, or got the report from the administrator, and I think we will also likely have some decisions to make, as we're entering the budgeting cycle here, so.
I would think that regardless of council's involvement now, we should meet with the coalition first to sort of bring to some of our thoughts and propositions first to the administration, so that we can be representative of not just the Human Rights Commission, but also the active coalition who is knowledgeable in this space.
So we could find out what this group, CORE, Coalition for Envisioning Our Safety, is, whether they're still doing things,
Sure.
and if so, what, and can we join them and at least find out what they're doing? And
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
so that's a maybe first step. And then, in doing that, we probably could identify other stakeholders that we might be part of. Are there people, are any of you very interested in this issue and want to be part of this? Volunteering, for example, to,
Feel welcome to loop me in.
yeah,
And I'll be
Yes.
meeting with them as well, so I would
Okay.
like to be involved.
okay. Any other comments about unarmed response? Do you have any sense for anything about it? No.
I mean, there's a Senate bill that's that's distributing grants to municipalities around this.
State Senate.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it'll be interesting to get involved, but I know that there's funding for this, is what I'm saying. And I, I'm not involved in these conversations with the city staff, but it sounds like the city is moving towards doing it, which I think is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. what I think, I also think we don't know enough about what's working elsewhere. And I think Lisa Jackson knows a lot more. I think she's done a lot of research on this. We could, by the way, invite her to speak to us about it. Would that be worth?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
I bet she would be happy to do that, and it would be very helpful for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God about that. Okay. I have nothing else on the agenda other than Commissioner communications. That, you agree that there's nothing else? Does anybody else, anything that they would like to say? Maybe meetings we'd be interested in, maybe just comments of some sort? If
Yes,
that's-
yes. I would like to find out with whom I should speak about not being able to hear through the plexiglass partitions and using microphones that are not adjustable. I'm serious.
No, sure, I hear you.
Thank you.
Hopefully this will be the last month. Is that possible? Without, if we can get rid of some of, I think our basement room is just a little too small to allow for all of us and an occasional person. Do I see a hand up in the audience?
Yes, if you were to poll the audience, you would get bad feedback on your name signs, which may be readable on the screen, but with my fully corrected vision, I can't see who you are. And anybody back row and in a crowded room would be able to see less well. So with this venue, you could use bigger signs as well as better auditory amplification.
I can handle that next time. Because I don't want them to lose track of who we are.
I mean, I think also with KETA, I mean, it's an accessibility issue if you're unable to hear and participate. So I think we should bring that up. I don't know to who exactly, but is there a workaround? Is there a device that she can use so that she's able to hear? And I'm sorry if I wasn't speaking into the microphone, but.
I'm sure that's part of her problem.
Yeah.
I can also check. I mean, I think, you know, these primarily help for those who might be listening at home, but they are also connected to the speakers in here. I think we can like modestly hear that. And to the extent that maybe those could be turned up or something like that, that might help as well. And so
That's a good idea.
we can check on that between Denise and I. I think we can ask some folks. I actually think it's a similar problem during council meetings for people.
It's just my lay opinion, but these plexiglass things are for show and have no practical utility, in my opinion.
I agree. And they're just,
Well, they impede sound, but I don't think they stop aerosols.
well, it's a thought. Any other communications you'd like to share?
Not so much communications, but just, where are we going next step for the trespass? Status of trespass and what we're going to do.
I can't hear you either, I'm sorry.
So I'll pull my mask down, so hopefully you can hear me better now. Status of trespass and what we're going to do next.
Yeah. We have a new letter that is revised for the present police chief who didn't have a background. And everybody should receive a copy probably this week. How's that? And then we'll get going and schedule an appointment with him. Does that answer your question?
Not really.
Oh.
So my understanding is that the letter is fine, but I think for implementation and dissemination to the public about just how that process works, I'm not clear, so I'm sure others may not be also. But my understanding is we were to update the information for how it gets communicated to the public, and then how they resolve that if they are trespassed, if you will. So I don't know if the letter fixes that or addresses that, but we've been working on this
I
a
know.
long time, and it just seems that it continues without any final resolution. So I guess that's what I'm seeking,
yeah.
and want to know where we stand with that so that we can ultimately work towards that.
Right. There are some changes that we're hoping that we can make with the police before we communicate what the policy is. But that would be the next step after we meet with the chief of police.
So the letter, we're waiting on, I know that there were some changes, if you will, or,
Yes, and we need the final approval from the group.
okay.
It was in.
And then is the
joint
next step
group
to
with
get,
the PAC.
is the next step then to get the buy-in, if you will, from the police? Because I know that there was some pushback
Yes,
initially.
the next step is meeting with the police.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so ultimately, if that's approved, if you will, then it can be disseminated to the public and.
Yes, then we have to talk
And I
about-
thought at some point there was to be some education of the officers who would be, for example, issuing that, because there's a piece of it, I believe, that allows them to be, exercise some discretion even in issuing trespass. And so I guess I'm just looking for what comes next and what are those steps?
Yeah, well, once we get an agreement from the police chief, we will have to talk about next steps. Is it is it up to them or is it up to us? Or is it up to both of us? And we've talked about how maybe they need something other than police language to describe trespass, to make sure that everybody understands what their danger is and how to act when it happens, if it happens. Is that,
Yeah, and so can we, in this meeting, recommend, I guess is a better word, that we can move forward with maybe having this piece of it completed by our next meeting? I know it's dependent on the schedule of the, police chief, but I don't see us establishing any dates for moving
I'll
this
try, I'll
along.
report on it next meeting, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? On that case, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.